Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome back to the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. I'm your host, Marc. This is Devil's Advocate. We're bringing the review back to this channel, so it's great. A nice little refresh. Happy New Year. Hopefully, everybody have great Christmases. And get your comments in, guys. Got myself, obviously, Stu and Marcus. I feel so ropey, guys. Honestly, it feels like I've been out of this for ages, but here we are. Great result tonight. Lots of big things to talk about, really. I haven't spoken to either of you for a little while. It'd be great to get your comments in. We'll do sort of, match rating, player rating at the end. But a 3-0 win. Casemiro, Rashford and Luke Shaw. Very impressed by both fullbacks tonight. And I was impressed with a lot of players on the pitch. And there's a really good feeling around certainly Old Trafford and the club at the moment. Obviously, lots of talk about potential takeover and probably a lot further forward than we think. So we will, we'll probably discuss that as well. It's going to be a bit of a bigger show tonight, I think. Just to kind of sort of catch up and go over a few extra details. Sean in the comments here, great result tonight, especially considering the Newcastle-Arsenal show. You kind of want to draw really, but I would like to have leapfrogged Newcastle a little bit, but it is what it is. We're building our goal difference, and that's partly what it's about. Jarvis, great to see you, buddy. Evening all. John Commode, evening all. Isn't it nice to watch United confident, relaxed, enjoying watching us play? Yeah, and all 3 points he's made there are exactly why it's very much feel good at the moment, isn't it? And Stu, give me your thoughts, buddy.
Yeah, I think if you're if you're Eric Ten Hag right now, you are very, very comfortable. You're not overconfident. You've used this 6 months, what I would say, wisely, and I don't think he would have expected to be this farther forward is what he is at the minute, and I think it makes his job moving forward very, very clear now, because he will now be planning for the start of the 2023 season. So we're planning for the summer months and start with the 2023 season. I'm not really sure whether we can affect anything further in terms of the way that we play, the way that the team are functioning as a unit. I don't think it can really affect that anymore. I think it's hit its peak. And that's what happens in football. You get to a certain level, and that's where consistency is the real key. And what he's done, he's gone in there, he's decided how he wants to do this. And if you don't toe the line, you're out the team, etc., etc., etc. And he's had a lot to deal with in his short tenure so far. But everything to this point now, I think it will be beyond his dreams. And I think he'll now be focusing purely on the start of next season, 2023. And strange as it seems, with football, it will take care of itself, really. The lads are taking care of itself on the pitch now. They weren't taking care of the pitch side of things at the end of last season and the end of Ollie's tenure. They became infuriating. They became everything you don't want to see as a footballer, towards now you're seeing something in a footballer. And I've read a lot of stuff on Twitter about Ten Hag making certain players better. Well, I've gone on record before, and I'm going to repeat my broken record of this. The players make themselves better. Ten Hag will just give them guidance on where he feels they can become a better player in a certain area of the pitch. And Wan-Bissaka, as I'm sure hasn't gone unnoticed, his final third penetration is so much better. Now, Eric Ten Hag hasn't stepped inside Wan-Bissaka and done that for him. Wan-Bissaka's had to do that himself. So he's the one that's had to put in the extra work on the training ground, etc. I thought tonight was a very solid performance. I thought Donny van der Beek was having a steady game, actually. I think the challenge was horrific. And I think, the slow-mos, etc., it's hard to say which part of the body is injured, but I don't think we're going to see him back anytime soon. Will that hasten Ten Hag into the transfer market? No. I still think, as he's come out and said he wants a striker, he needs a recognised 9. I'm liking the way that Martial's playing at the moment, but he's lacking that potency. And I think
Yeah.
we'd all agree on the panel, he's not the potent 9 that we need. Rashford, again, by his own admittance, admitted he was having a tough time. He sorted himself out, and we're seeing the Marcus Rashford. So when you look at the pieces of the puzzle that Ten Hag's put together, it's not actually the players themselves, it's the technique and the ability of the players in certain sectors of the field which are kicking us on. And what I mean by that is Ronaldo's gone, Bruno stepped aside, Eriksen's now taken the bulk of our set pieces, and our set piece delivery has improved. So that particular sector
Massively. I mean, it was only last season. We hadn't scored in 190 corners, and we've already had about 3 or 4 this season.
That's right.
And for this waypoint, that's actually a good amount. It's certainly improved.
And people don't kind of understand that it's certain areas of the pitch that you want certain players. Casemiro, me and Marcus have spoken about this before, the way that he just controls the pace, the way that he runs, the way that he stands, the way that he wanders into space, the way that he's constantly looking. Eriksen, he's freeing up Bruno. There are certain areas. The Casemiro goal today, by the way, the ball made that. Look, I'm not taking anything away from Casemiro's finish, but he only had to guide that. He didn't have to put any power in it. The cross was perfect. So all in all, I think we can say tonight has been great. I'm not too bothered about Everton on Friday, if I'm being honest. Don't really care about them.
They were very poor tonight.
I absolutely love the FA Cup, but our concentration must be City on the 13th, 14th, sorry.
14th, I think, yeah.
14th. That's where our concentration must lead us now towards City. But yeah, really impressed. Really impressed.
Yeah, as always, my man, excellently summed up. Yeah, so Saturday the 14th, early kickoff, 12:30. The next game that we've really got to look out for, of course, we got Everton in the meantime next Friday, this Friday, sorry, and then Charlton in the Carabao Cup, Tuesday the 10th. So 2 games in between that. Obviously, we want to be kind of focused on those, but I think all eggs in one basket. I mean, I think top 4 is certainly available to us. I think you're right. You were talking about, Ten Hag looking at this situation he's in now and would be over the moon about it. We're playing some good football. I was looking at some of
Mark, sorry, just quickly.
No,
do you remember a conversation me and you had? We were on a show, Talk of the Devils, I think, and I said to you that Ten Hag will be looking at a consistent run of wins. He won't be looking, and we're getting that consistent run of wins now, aren't we? I said we needed to string a run of 10 wins together. We're stringing this run of wins together slowly but surely. We're just adding and adding and adding. And what it does, it just chips away at the teams around you. What we've done now is detach ourselves from Tottenham and Liverpool and attached ourselves to Newcastle and City. That's absolutely this time of the season. Sorry to butt in, Mark, but
no, you're absolutely.
What I was getting at. That's what I was getting at.
No, you're absolutely right. Sorry, Marcus. I will bring you in a minute, buddy. Bear with me. John just saying here, all goals are brilliant. Goals and set pieces important. No coincidence. A lot of it is to do with Casemiro. Listen, we've said this so many times, but I absolutely love watching him play. So calm, so measured, and he really dictates. And you've said all those points already, Stu. And yeah, I was looking at the table earlier. Our goal difference is poor, 7. Okay, and but our goals against is only 20, which is only 5 more than City, and I think that really sort of highlights that we are missing that kind of clinical number 9, maybe at least one, and if they don't get this window, I don't think they obviously will. It's absolutely pivotal that we do that in the summer, and I'm so happy with everyone else all over the pitch. We've got great defensive ability. Obviously Martinez and Varane, absolutely superb. Didn't even play today. Maguire and Lindelof played very well today, and again it proves our point, Stu, that we've spoken about before. And I think Marcus was with us. Casemiro just provides that real shielding. and you didn't really. I mean, you saw a couple of things here and there that thought it might not happen necessarily with Martinez. He might have been there a little bit quicker, but much better. Anyway, gonna move on to you, Marcus. Sorry, my man. Just give me your sort of thoughts on that performance.
Yeah, I mean, it was a solid performance. I think the start was pretty slow. I think after was it Casemiro's goal from the set piece? I think it was the first goal.
Yeah.
After that goal, the game really came to life for United, and obviously in the second half, it just got even better. So, yeah, it's one of those performances that I kind of said at the beginning of the season. I think someone asked on a panel, "What are your expectations for next season?" And I gave a very long-winded answer, but the point was, I wasn't looking at trophies, I wasn't looking at top four. I wanted us to put in dominant performances, especially against teams we should be beating. I want us to actually be able to look at our performances and say, wow, that's how a big team should perform. And that's exactly what we did today. I think United a couple of years ago wouldn't have been that comfortable against Bournemouth. There's actually a chance Bournemouth come here, put in a good performance, dominate the midfield because we're playing with McFred, and actually get a result.
Just to quickly say, we have for so many years really struggled to break down the smaller teams, and I know we've said it so many times, but you feel so much more confident and comfortable against those teams about grinding results. It's about taking control, getting the goals, finishing, and then trying to set up well against big teams. Sorry.
Yeah. So exactly. And just to extend on that, that's the biggest takeaway from today. Yeah, you can look at individual performances, and I'm sure we will, but for me, that is the biggest takeaway. Erik ten Hag has finally made me excited to watch Manchester United again after God knows how long, because I'm actually confident against the smaller teams. Now, will we finish in the top four? I don't know. But the fact that we can go into a game against Bournemouth and say, yeah, even with, the Ollie back four of Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Maguire and Lindelof, we're still going to win, and we're going to keep a clean sheet while doing it. There's not a moment today, even after seeing the team sheet, where I thought, yeah, this is going to be a bit dodgy, because I just had faith. Even with the rotation, even with Donny coming into the team, I just had faith. Like, even if we don't start off well, he'll make some changes at halftime and everything will work out in the end, And that's a nice space to be in as a United fan.
Yeah, a really great place to be, and lots of performances that were very, very exciting tonight. You're absolutely right. You're playing as a team, and we have said that previously under Ollie. Not so much under Ralph, but you can see sometimes that cohesiveness. But you've got a lot more of that now. But at the same time, obviously, you can see this sort of individual players really bringing what they can to whatever it is, whatever position they are playing, and you can see everything as a collective, and it's really, really great to see. I'll come to some comments that Ten Hag has said afterwards. He talks about Donny van der Beek. I want to talk. We highlighted it already, but Aaron Wan-Bissaka and Luke Shaw tonight. You said about, obviously, Stu, them having to improve their... Aaron Wan-Bissaka in particular having to improve his game. Now, for a long time now, we haven't seen even defensively very good. I know you talked about the final third and obviously looked very good tonight, but defensively he wasn't very good. He was sort of misplacing passes a lot, not really getting into the tackles that he's very much known for. But today... I mean, I hope it continues, and you don't want to sort of get ahead of yourself in one game, but he looked really great. He looked brilliant tonight in all departments, and was really, really pleased with his performance. And listen, I know Dallo, he's absolutely having the form of his life this season and needed a bit of extra time out, whatever. But hopefully, if he can continue that, we've got two great right backs that we can rely on. And again, you can see that in lots and lots of positions. But yeah, talk to me about Aaron Wan-Bissaka in particular and Luke Shaw too.
Yeah, so what a shame for Diego Dallo, because he's not now guaranteed first choice again. He's now back into this quandary, which should be in professional football. Same with Luke Shaw, Malacia. Malacia was taken out. Luke Shaw got back in, took his chance, and now Malacia is jostling with Luke Shaw. What I've noticed about the likes of Luke Shaw, what I've noticed about the likes of Wan-Bissaka, the likes of Diego Dallo, and the likes of Malacia, is their ability to be able to read the way that Casemiro wants to play. Now, we all keep coming back to this one player who is the glue, and I've spoken about this on many occasions because as a younger player, I was a CDM, I was a defensive midfielder, and I didn't do anything flash like Casemiro. I didn't have a range of passing. Casemiro has a range of passing. I was a crunching tackler, and I would get the ball, win it, and move it. When you're a fullback, when you're a centre half, what's absolutely imperative is not only your ability to get forward and defend, but whether you got the faith in the players in the middle, or a particular player in the middle, to allow you to get forward that extra 10 or 15 yards. And this man mountain of a 5'9" player, or 5'8" player, however tall Casemiro is, he allows you to do that. And I've said it before, when he gets the ball and he moves the ball, certainly in the defensive third of the pitch, he'll stay in that particular area, so he'll hang around. And that allows your fullbacks to move forward those extra 10 yards. Because if you've got turnover, A, they can scramble back, but B, you've got Casemiro able to cover the left side of the pitch or the right side of the pitch. So he's almost being able to cover the fullback side, and that's why he stays in the middle. When we push on again, if he gets the ball back, he'll push on a further 10 or 15 yards. And again, he'll just jog about this time within that central area. And again, it allows the fullbacks to be almost level with him, because you've got that protection. So you've got three potentially running back, three players running back rather than one or two. And then if it moves forward again, you'll find that one of the fullbacks will remain in place, or certainly middle third of our particular half, depending on which side we're attacking. So that triplet of players, so to speak, when you've heard me talk about this before, they kind of go forward in a pendulum motion and come back in a pendulum motion. And it's the way that enables players to express themselves better. It allows Wan-Bissaka to be a bit more free as a player. It allows Shaw to be more free as a player. And he's kind of reaping the benefits of that. You have to bear in mind, guys, when we had McFred in there, the turnover in the middle of the park was huge. It was massive. And it meant that the fullbacks couldn't get forward anywhere near as much as what Ten Hag wants, or possibly even Ragnick wanted. Casemiro has unlocked many a door since he's been R11. But ultimately, that's where we are. Kind of hope I've explained that, Rise.
You explained it beautifully. Thank you, Stu, as always. Casemiro. I know we spoke about it earlier, and you spoke about it then, but I can't explain and put into words just how much of a difference he has made. And you know what? It's a real shame that I think of one player in particular, Paul Pogba. Love him or hate him, didn't hit the ceilings that he should have. We've been calling out for a player like Casemiro, one man, to do one man's job, other than McTominay, Fred, who neither of them, even as a collective, can do that man's job. And it would have provided so much for someone like Pogba, and it is providing so much for our team right now. He's just unbelievable, and I wouldn't be surprised if he gets into the team of the season. He's just been incredible, and he's beautiful to watch, isn't he? Marcus, any more on Casemiro and how he played today?
Yeah, I mean, Casemiro, it's strange to have a player of that quality. I mean, I tweeted during the game, I don't know how we ended up with this guy, because, every week you start to realize more and more how much we have missed a player like him. I mean, the last player we had, not similar to him in terms of play style, but maybe similar in terms of position, is Michael Carrick. And since then, we just haven't had anyone who's just been able to be a dictator in the middle of the park. Even when he makes mistakes, I don't get mad, because I'm like, oh, well, it's Casemiro. He'll do something amazing in the next few minutes. So, yeah, he's such a good footballer. And I think one aspect of his game that's been massively underrated before he came to Manchester United was his technical ability, right? Like, going forward, he can progress the ball really well. He can spray the ball and distribute it so well.
I didn't really know that about
up the
him.
field.
I didn't know that about him enough, to be honest, and it surprised me, but he's been excellent.
Yeah, and the thing is, it's funny, because when we signed him, I always said, I remember being on shows saying that, guys, the reason why you don't see it at Real Madrid is because he's got Modric and Kroos next to him. Like, he doesn't need to be the distributor. Right. You don't need to do anything when you've got two of the best, arguably the best midfielders of the last decade. But he's so good going forward. He can score goals as well, as we're seeing with how many times he's hit the post this season, but also today getting on the end of that chance on the set piece. I think in the last game we played, he also narrowly just missed a header that went over the bar
He's scored a couple of
early
goals
on.
now this season. Yeah, he scored a
Yeah,
couple of goals
yeah,
now.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a
So
second.
so he's just such a well-rounded player, and he excels in so many different areas. You know, yes, he's great at reading the game. Yes, he's great at being a destroyer. But I'm just amazed, like I'm mesmerized at how well-rounded he is as a footballer. So, I mean, he's brilliant. He's brilliant, and as Stu said, he's unlocked so many doors for the rest of the team, because now having someone like that in the middle of the park allows other players to now express themselves. I mean, you look at someone like Eriksen, you look at someone like Bruno. I think they've been a little bit off this season, but even when they haven't been playing at their best, it's okay because we've got Casemiro. There hasn't been like an extreme domino effect in the team. Whereas in the past, if Bruno wasn't playing well, or whoever was playing in the 10 position, generally speaking, things fell apart
Yeah,
because they were kind of carrying the midfield by themselves. Now we've got a bit more of a dynamic trio in that midfield, where sometimes it's Eriksen spraying the ball from deep, sometimes it's Casemiro, sometimes it's Bruno. I mean, even at times Luke Shaw this evening. So yeah, it's really great. It's really great, man. I could never run out of things to say about Casemiro.
No, I know exactly how you feel, and I think the midfield is always a huge aspect to the game. You know, you can talk about defenders obviously defending well. You can score. You can talk about goal scorers scoring, but the midfield is where everything ticks. I know that seems cliche and obviously very easy, but we've got so many very good players in the middle now, and even Fred and McTominay can come on and do a job, and they're not going to be relied upon to do the wrong job. And it's unbelievable to see. I'm really, really happy with that. And I just wanted to come to this comment, actually, John. Great to have you with us, buddy. Depending on what you believe, some of the Madrid players were stunned to let Casemiro go. I know we pursued De Jong or something, but looking at it now, thank goodness, as we wouldn't have got Casemiro. And I think you're right to a certain extent. Obviously, it was a kind of another option, but by all accounts, I've read a few times recently. I think De Jong has sort of changed his mind, and there could be a quite possibility that United could go after him. And you've got to remember, Eriksen is not going to be there for years, maybe 1 or 2, perhaps maybe 3. And then, of course, Donny van de Beek, injury today, but probably isn't going to stay around. Fred and McTominay, I think Fred is going to be surplus and probably move on as well. So you've got to continually rotate and obviously look forward. And I think De Jong and Casemiro in the midfield could potentially be a thing. And we'll have to obviously wait and see until the summer, maybe even later than that. But yeah, absolutely brilliant today. And yeah, man of the match. I think week in, week out is always an 8, 9, 10 out of 10, isn't he? Absolutely brilliant to see. So I want to move on to some of the forward three today. Obviously, Martial, we mentioned him earlier. Not quite got his scoring boots on yet, but we have always spoken about him, Stu. I know you have in particular that he brings a lot to the team. His link-up play, his hold-up play, absolutely brilliant, and you can see that week in, week out. We just want him to get on the score sheet. Very narrowly missed a header. I don't know how he didn't score it, to be honest, but it is what it is. But he's obviously doing good, doing better, and hopefully he can start to score. But Marcus Rashford, I know we talk about him a lot at the moment, but I think praise and credit where credit's due, is just playing unbelievably well, and he just one-on-one. We used to criticise him for this. We used to criticise him for his decision making, but one-on-one now, you always feel that he's going to beat the man, and he just looks brilliant. Stu, did you want to go into that a little bit more?
A couple of things. First of all, if I was Martial, I'd be looking at how original Ronaldo used to play. You look at the comparison between the two styles, physique, the way that Martial runs with the ball, the way that Ronaldo used to run with the ball, but Ronaldo used to take that extra gamble. He used to know and look at his own ability and think, right, I'm going to get round you. There's no doubt in Martial's skill set is up there with Ronaldo. His physique is up there with Ronaldo. He just lacks that belief that original Ronaldo had. But when you actually look at the two specimens together, and I'm talking, Ronaldo in his prime, they're very, very similar.
They're not too dissimilar, are they?
Yeah.
Not obviously the same
no,
name and all that, but very, very similar stature, ability, that kind of thing.
Before anyone jumps on me and thinks that I'm suggesting that Martial can tie Ronaldo's boots, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not comparing them to as like-for-like players. I'm talking about them as a physique and the way that Martial sometimes plays is very, very similar and reminiscent of the way that Ronaldo used to play. And if I was Martial, I'd just take a quick look at him, look at scenarios that I've been in during the season, look at similar scenarios that Ronaldo's been in, and how did Ronaldo deal with that scenario? And that's what I would do if I was Martial. Anyway, that's beside the point. As for Rashford, the biggest thing for Rashford, he got himself fit in the summer. I think he got hurt by England, actually. I think England hurt him. I think the snub from Southgate hurt him. And I think he realised that was a big, big moment for him in his career. I think he realised that can't happen again. I should be representing my country. I want to represent my country, and it's down to me to deal with that. Jadon Sancho just seems to have wilted in that same scenario. He was an England regular when he was at Dortmund. He got the footballing world at his feet, although I hate that phrase, but he did. But Rashford's looked at, and I think he got a punch in the face by the England snub. I think he could maybe cope with it at club level. I think there are players that have come out now and haven't actually said you were able to get away with certain amount of stuff prior to Ten Hag coming. They've not really elaborated on it, and that was quite clear that Rashford was getting away with stuff. Obviously, he's tried it with Ten Hag, and and he got the boot up his ass. But he's gone away and he's worked hard in the summer. He's physically stronger. He's physically bigger. He's quicker. He's fitter, and he's got that desire and that hunger that he needs to become the player that he has. I know, but I guess, and I'm not digging Sancho out here at all, because it'd be wrong of me to do that. I'm not living in his boots. I'm not living in his world. But you've got to have this real inner fight within you to get back. Now, maybe Sancho's doing that, while he's on his own personalised program. But clearly, Rashford had that punch in the face and realised that my career is either going to stall or decline, or I've got to sort it out. And I think he sorted it out. And what we're seeing now is somewhere close to the player we all think and thought he could be. So I do like him, very dynamic. You're absolutely right about his one-on-one ability now. You back him to score. You back him to get round the player. He's better in the air than what he has done. How much is to do with Benny McCarthy? I'm sure Marcus can fill us in on that. But, Benny McCarthy was a good box player. He was excellent in and around the box, was Benny McCarthy. And if McCarthy can teach Martial a little bit more about how to be a bit more savvy in the box, can teach Rashford how to be a bit more savvy in the box, then it's good. But no, I'm dead chuffed to see Rashford back.
Yeah, he's long may it continue. Like I said about a couple of other players as well, but it's really, really good to see. I think there's always a bit of a, I don't know, I can't really explain that, but it's always a bit of a special sort of place for Rashford. He's other than Bruno coming in for the 18 months, been absolutely phenomenal. He's probably been the best player for us post Sir Alex, and he's unfortunately, it just goes without saying, players are people too, they're human beings, and they go through all sorts of stuff, and
they do, and I accept that.
Yeah, and you have to bear that in mind. You can't sort of expect them to be absolutely jumping through hoops and happy every week. And I think it's down to a number of things. I think he did have a bit of a kick in the nuts. I think that Erik ten Hag has nurtured a number of players this season very, very well. I think Benny McCarthy coming in has been excellent too. I think it's a bit like with Jadon, and I'll come to you on that in a second, Marcus. I want you to sort of go through your thoughts on Jadon a little bit, but he's by all accounts he's come back. He's been given sort of strict sort of regime, sort of not isolated but put into a specific program and all this sort of thing. And I believe that Erik ten Hag and the other players around the club can bring him back to his best. We know what he's capable of. I'm not worried about it. Fortunately we've got players like Anthony, Rashford, Garnacho, and a few others that are going to be able to sort of go into those positions as and when. But yeah, sorry, Marcus. Over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I was just going to say on Rashford, like, I think there's three things that have impressed me the most about him under Erik ten Hag. The first is obviously his body language and his change in his demeanor, right? He seems to be somebody who cares a lot, which Stu spoke about. The second thing for me is it's not just his 1v1 ability, it's the follow-up after that, right? Because we know that Rashford can take men on one-on-one, but the problem under Ollie and under previous managers is that he would take someone on and then he'd get greedy and he'd run himself into a blind alley instead of releasing the ball. Now he's releasing. I mean, the goal that Martial scored, I think it was against Nottingham Forest, it starts with Rashford. He beats two men out wide and passes the ball. He doesn't go for the shot. He doesn't go for the typical cut in and shoot. He sees Martial. He's aware of what's going on in the box. And he has two options in that situation. He can either play the difficult ball over to Anthony, who's making a run deep in the box, or he can look over his shoulder and see Martial running in from deep, which he did. And just the subtle changes to his decision making. So that's the second thing for me. The third thing is, again, we talked about Benny McCarthy and his influence. I think Rashford's movement has been a lot better.
Yeah.
I've got no stats to quantify it, but he hasn't been caught offside as much as usual nowadays. And for some reason, it almost feels like he almost gets involved in attacks from out of nowhere, which is a suggestion that he's moving very intelligently off the ball and he's getting into the right areas. And I think that has to do with Benny McCarthy, but also it has to do with him evolving as a player and maybe an influence that Ten Hag has had on him. So there's just a difference with Marcus Rashford. Fundamentally, I think he's changing as a player. I think some people have kind of tried to make it seem as if he's just gone back to his old self. I disagree. I think this version of Marcus Rashford is actually better than the older version. Maybe he's not scoring and assisting at the same rate. Maybe his output still has a ways to go, but his overall performances are getting better. There's not as many moments in a game where I'm thinking now, oh, wow, if it wasn't for the goal, did he really have actually such a good performance? No, it's like even without the goal, he's actually been playing quite well today. That was a good performance. And I'm saying that more and more every week about Rashford. So it's great. And then on the other side is a complete contrast in Jadon Sancho. And yeah, man, it's sad. It's really sad because when Sancho arrived at Old Trafford, I always thought and predicted that he was going to take a while to get going. But what's happening now is just unpredictable. I think now it's getting to a point where you start to get a little bit worried. And obviously, whatever's going on with him is clearly a personal issue. Because, I mean, I don't want to speculate too much, but to me, it doesn't seem like a fitness issue. I imagine it would be something that has to be going on off the field. And, hopefully he recovers from that. The way the club have managed it and the way Ten Hag has managed it has been very excellent. They've kind of just kept him out of the spotlight and kept it quiet, which is good. I just hope that Sancho can come back and really fight for his place in the team, because the last few months where he has been playing, he's looked very lethargic. He's not really been very confident in terms of taking people on. He's always looked to like offload the responsibility and sort of give the ball away like it's a hot potato. And he just doesn't seem like a player who, excites you as a Manchester United fan. He doesn't seem like that guy that we dreamt of getting when he was at Dortmund, And it's really sad. I think the only thing that softens the blow is the fact that we've got an informed Rashford, Martial's back in the team, and like you said, Garnacho, Anthony, there's others contributing, and our midfield is great now. There's other things that can distract us from the Sancho situation, which is a great position to be in. But man, he needs to get back up to par, because I think you add Sancho, an informed Jadon Sancho to this team, and we are looking scary.
Yeah. No, I yeah, absolutely spot on, buddy. And obviously I wish him all the best, and hopefully that will happen. I believe that, he's a unbelievable player, can bring a lot to the team, and again, we've seen it on track record. They brought the best out of a lot of players again, particularly in the front three, and I do believe that Sancho will get there. Listen, we've got loads of you, particularly on Twitter. Come over to youtube.com/weekly armchair sports talk. And get your comments in. Loads of you in here as well. Get liking on the video. Really appreciate you here. Want you to come back again. We've got some good shows coming forward, going forward, and obviously really appreciate that. And as Keen in the comments this year, get your comments in below. Who is your man of the match? Give us your man of the match. Let us know how you feel, and we'll go from there. Right, we're going to do player ratings now then. The fun bit of the show, always something we've started to enjoy more recently, isn't it, Stu? And we'll go from there. I just wanted to mention one more thing. I'm not going to go into David De Gea. We seem to do this quite a lot, Stu, but I've been proven wrong a lot this season with him. I don't think he's the long-term answer. I think, if it's not this summer, next summer we get someone else in. But he's proven me wrong with his distribution and playing out from the back, and he made some phenomenal saves today. And I was really pleased to see that. We've seen it a lot recently.
Yes, I would agree with that. Because once your defence becomes more solid, once and your midfield becomes more solid, it's a lot easier when you've got a goalkeeper that was reticent to come off his line, because the hey Vic, the yardage between, and you've heard me speak about it before, the centre halves and the goalkeeper is a lot narrower now. And also you've got that pace in behind with Varane, and Martinez isn't exactly slow, is he? And helping De Gea out. But look, you've got to give De Gea at least 7.5 today because of that triple save alone. I mean, credit where credit is due. Yes, he's that's what he's there for. His role is to stop goals. But I think today, yeah, definitely 7.5 if you're doing halves for sure.
We can do halves just for you, mate. That's absolutely fine. I absolutely agree. Just coming to Jarvis's comment here, I just wanted to mention Garnacho. Actually, we've spoken about him quite a bit, Stu and Marcus. Obviously, we kind of wanted to temper how we felt about him. Obviously, it was very explosive, but we could see the inexperience natures that he brought sometimes. The mistakes, that kind of thing. But I feel like every time that I see him, he's just taking more and more strides. He's making less and less mistakes. He's being very clever, making those correct decisions, and came on today and really sort of made a good show of himself. He hit the post, had 2 other opportunities, and that's what you want to kind of see from a player like that. But as I say, not at the expense of other mistakes being made. And I think that he, long may it continue, sign the contract, give him what he kind of wants to a certain degree, and keep him at the club, because I think he's certainly a wonderful, wonderful player going forward. Right, Marcus, I'm going to come to you then first. David De Gea, I know we've just spoken about him, but give me. Oh no, you already gave it, didn't you, Stu? My bad.
7.5. Unless Marcus.
I told you I'm ropey today. It's been a few weeks, so I do apologise. But anyway, let's move on to Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Marcus, give me just a quick summary and your rating for him, brother.
Yeah, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10. I think Wan-Bissaka has been really good since coming back into the team, which is I don't know. I don't know if I'm surprised by it, because there's nothing that he's done that I don't know he isn't capable of. I think he's improved slightly going forward, but I think I've just been impressed with how calm he is on the ball. He doesn't look comfortable because just of his body shape and his build, but he hasn't been making that many mistakes. And I think people are fooled by Wan-Bissaka because of the way he runs and just how he carries himself. But when you actually think about it, he's actually not as bad as we've made out. And I'm not just saying that because of revisionism or short-termism. Like I've been thinking about it, trying to objectively rationalize what do I think of Wan-Bissaka as a player, and I actually think he's been brilliant since coming back. So for me, I'm going to give him a 7 out of 10.
Yeah, listen, I guess I know it's a bit cliche, but you don't necessarily lose your ability. I think he was just obviously going through a very difficult time. He was amazing when he came in for the season. We know it's there. If you don't see that for maybe 1 or 2 seasons, and the player doesn't decide to have you in their team, then maybe it's time to go. But there's certainly ability there, and he's been brilliant. And I'm so pleased that they're both playing brilliantly. So absolutely spot on there. So Stu, I'm going to come to you on our old guard, Maguire and Lindelof in the middle. How do you feel they fared today in their ratings, please?
Yeah, look, you couldn't have asked for any more from a centre-back pairing that hasn't played together for a hell of a long time. Maguire made 1 or 2 silly errors, Lindelof the same, but I'd go with 7 across the board, apart from Shaw. If I give an 8, I'd go with 7 for Maguire and Lindelof. Yeah, absolutely. I've got no issues with that.
Yeah, I think Keane's agreeing with you there. Maguire and Lindelof for 7. I thought that they did fine today, and you're absolutely right, and played for a little while. So it's a good performance, really. I think Casemiro helped that a lot. But anyway,
He does.
Yeah, moving on to another fullback for you then, Marcus. Shaw, just very quickly, actually, man of the matches, get more in. I want to see some more man of the matches from every single one if you could. Sean here, Shaw and Casemiro, man of the match. Luke Shaw again here and a few others, but I think there's a lot of praises to be sung for Casemiro. But anyway, Luke Shaw for you, Marcus.
For me, he was man of the match. Listen, I love Casemiro, and I could sit here for 2 hours talking about Casemiro, but for me, Luke Shaw was man of the match because just how involved he was today. I mean, I think it was the second goal. He orchestrated the build up. He then carried the ball from the halfway line to the edge of the box, fed it to Bruno. Bruno gave it to Garnacho, and like a normal human being would have just stopped there and been like, "Okay, I've done enough. Let the striker score." No, Luke Shaw runs into the box and finishes the chance. That was insane, and that goal right there, it's like it shows what this guy is capable of going forward. So for me, I'm going to give him a 9 out of 10. I think he was brilliant tonight.
The drive for Luke Shaw's goal reminded me, and it's a different type of goal, by the way, because Luke Shaw poked this in with his right peg, but he reminded me of the City goal, Henderson out to Shaw. Yeah. I'm talking about the drive and the continuation of the run. That's what it reminded me of. I know it was a different goal. Garnacho cuts it back, etc., etc. I get all that, but it was just the continuation. We haven't seen that for a long, long time, so I agree with that.
Yeah, lots of people praising him in the comments. Shaw 9 from John. Luke Shaw, man of the match.
Greg's
9.
comments is really funny.
Yeah, I do feel like he's going through months of trying at the moment, is what he says. It gives him an 8.5, but he's not wrong there. Our Greg loves to go in on Shaw sometimes, but obviously gives him the credit where credit's due. Right, moving on to the midfield, Casemiro. We'll make this very quick. We've absolutely gone nuts about him tonight, but I'll quickly come to both of you very, very quickly. Give me a number, please, out of 10 for Casemiro. Stu?
He gets a 9 for me. I understand Marcus's point. I understand everybody's point. But you can have one man a match and put 3 or 4 players on the same number. So he gets a 9 for me, Casemiro. I thought he was outstanding.
Marcus, anything to add to that?
Oh, not really. I'll give him a 9 as well. Brilliant.
Yeah. I can't disagree. And Sean with Big Cast number 9. Great to see you around, Sean. I haven't seen you on the show before, so please come back next time. And your comments have been fantastic. Right, moving on then. Stu Eriksson.
I like Eriksson, but he was a steady 7 today. But he's a wonderful, wonderful talent. But the great thing about Eriksson is you don't have to be involved 90% of the play. It's that 10% where he makes that difference, and that 10% made the difference today. So he gets a 7 for me. A very steady performance, but I love Eriksson. I wanted him years ago before.
Me too.
I just thought I'm so chuffed with Eriksson. So he gets a 7 for me.
Better late than never, isn't it? You know what? I was getting criticised a lot in a group chat we got. I felt that Eriksson played really well tonight. Sometimes you see him do a lot more on the ball and do that 90%. But you were absolutely right. I think you've explained that brilliantly there. Sometimes it's just about the 10%. But I thought that he was, quite intricate with Casemiro today and did quite a lot of good things. Got the assist, and I felt like he had a good performance myself. But again, if you think I'm wrong, tell me in the comments. And Keen here saying 6.5 as well. So I must be wrong.
That's a 7.
Right, moving on then to Bruno Fernandes. Personally, for me, a little bit quieter today. Marcus, what would you say?
Yeah, I'm glad Marcus has got this one.
I you know what? I'm actually going to give him a 6. He had 4 key passes played. He had an assist, but on the balance of it, I sort of look at it and say he wasn't that amazing tonight. I think he played, according to SofaScore, played 9 crosses and none of them were successful. So that should tell you everything you need to know about Bruno. He's just that type of player. He can get an assist and he can contribute to the scoreboard. But then the rest of his performance, there's just moments where you think, okay, he's just trying a little bit too hard again. So not terrible, just average. A quiet 6 game, I think.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
Yeah, can't really disagree there. I think he was very quiet today. Made a few mistakes, but again, we kind of hit on this earlier. So we've now got the players around him to pick up on those pieces. I think that's why it sort of went and it didn't worry us too much. Donny van der Beek had a few appearances recently. Unfortunate with his injury. Looks a bit sore. I think Erik ten Hag came out earlier and said obviously 24 hours, I need to find out, but it doesn't look good. So what are we going to give him? And then we'll do a Garnacho one as well, in replacement of him. You've been happier with his performances. He made a wonderful tackle today, and I know that sounds ridiculous, but I feel like he's done a little bit more recently. Still not brilliant, but yeah, your thoughts on him, Stu?
Look, I thought it was quite steady his first half. I thought Donny van der Beek appears to be the type of player that needs to play himself into a game of football, and I think it takes a lot longer for him to play himself up to speed than it does a lot of other players. So I can see Keane's 5, but he gets a 6 for me because there's a couple of things that he did okay today, and I know what I get what the guys are saying. The guys know football, and I've got massive respect for their opinions, but I think sometimes you've got to cut someone some slack, and I'm going to cut him some slack tonight and give him a 6. I thought he did okay. He did no worse than, look, for the time in the minutes he was on the pitch, he did no worse than Bruno, if you were to run that as a comparison.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that. I think for me, and I said this before, I have to. I was really excited about him coming in, and it's been unfortunate his tenure so far, but I think it's about pride for me now. I'm just trying to back him. Hopefully he gets something, and it's not worked out quite. But there you go. That's just me trying to save face there. But there you go. So yeah, just quickly then, we'll come to you on Garnacho. We spoke about him a bit earlier, Marcus, but you're rating for him, brother.
Garnacho, that's an interesting one. I think I'm going to give him a 7 because I thought when he came on, he was impactful, very electrifying player, very raw talent, still a lot that he needs to learn. But as you pointed out earlier, it seems like every game he's making slight improvements. And the nice thing about Garnacho is he's coming into an environment that I would say it's probably been the most stable environment we've had post Sir Alex Ferguson, maybe apart from the Van Gaal days. But I would even argue that now the dressing room is in a more positive mindset now, and our trajectory and the progress we're making under Ten Hag in such a short period of time has been amazing. So that's the right type of environment to have a young player coming in, where there's healthy competition. They're not, starting every game because we just don't have anyone. They're actually coming off the bench and making an impact, and they can go at a comfortable pace. So 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, 100%. I think that's fair. I think that's a perfect. John here has given Donny a 5.5, and he took 0.5 off him because he got injured, the poor bastard. So don't know what he's got to do in order to keep that 6, but there you go. Right, moving on to Martial. I'm going to give that to you, Stu, and I'm going to save Rashford because you said in the comments to me privately, I love talking about Rashford, so I'm going to give him to you in a minute. But Martial for you, Stu.
He gets a 6, really. I think he did okay, but you couldn't give him more than a 6, I'm afraid. That's all I've got to say.
No, that's absolutely fine. Yeah, I don't disagree with you, to be honest here. John here saying Garnacho did well, just maybe has to work on decision making at times, which is no surprise. He's 18. We need to remember that.
Can I just tell you one quick thing about Garnacho? It's going to come across ridiculously stupid, but it does make a lot of sense. He moves way too fast with the ball. His brain can't think. So he's going that fast with the ball. He can't catch up with his brain yet.
Yeah, you can see that.
His decision making is not as good. So,
yeah,
but he's 18.
Absolutely spot on there, actually. It's a very good way of explaining that. Right, so last but not least then, the main man at the minute, Marcus Rashford. And for your namesake again, Marcus, you always seem to get him. Over to you, buddy.
Yeah, I don't think it was his best performance today, but still very impactful. I think I would give him a 7 out of 10 just because I think obviously scoring the goal, but also not really making any glaring mistakes, just having a very solid performance. And I don't know, it just seems everything's going for him at the moment. Like he's getting the easy chances, he's getting the easy tap-ins. He's also scoring some brilliant goals when given the opportunity. Like he's in a good vein of form, and it's funny how football works sometimes, eh? When things are going your way, all of a sudden it looks a lot easier. Everything just
very
looks so
fine
smooth.
Line, isn't it? Very fine line sometimes.
Yeah. He's just everything is working out for him at the moment, and long may it continue, man. So 7 out of 10 for me.
7 out of 10, yeah, I think that's fair. Listen, it's been a really great show. Glad to be back. Happy New Year to everybody. And we obviously will be continuing this thick and fast. Obviously, 2 games pretty much a week for a little while. So I will be doing your reviews over here. So please come back next time. Lots of you in tonight. Been really, really good conversations. So thanks for getting involved. Thanks for all the ratings as well. Really appreciate that. Tomorrow night, we've got a new show that myself and Sean, who has been on this channel a few times before, he's a Chelsea fan. Listen, it might only be funny when you're in the room at the time, but we have some really, really great banter, and we're going to try and sort of bring that to the show, which starts tomorrow night. It's going to be every sort of few weeks, and we're going to have particular subjects that we're going to rate. So, for example, Scholes versus Lampard, obviously, he's going to be very biased. I'm going to be very biased, and hopefully we'll wind each other up. But that's going to start tomorrow night, and as I say, that will continue on. So hopefully that'll be as fun as we find it. Sometimes I'm in bits in the chat, let me tell you. But yeah, all good fun. So we'll be having that tomorrow. And of course, reaction in 3 days' time. Be doing that again. So anyway, thank you ever so much for being here tonight. Really, really appreciate it. And we will see you very soon.